Family matters. It most certainly does. And the show was pretty good to boot. Now, why the heck did it work? Well, um, it's very standard as far as a sitcom is concerned. Very standard. You've got a mom, you've got a dad, you've got kids, you've even got grandma. May she rest in peace. And may the other actress who was on the show who died rest in peace as well. It worked for a variety of reasons, I think. And ultimately, I think it comes down to the fact of the title, or the reality of the title. The title is multifaceted. It's Family Matters, but it is also Family Matters. I'll explain what I mean. Family Matters, as in matters of the family, and Family Matters, as in family is important. So that is, I think, where its success lies because it lives up to those titles. There are matters of the family, and then there is the fact that it always comes back to family being important. And it plays on this theme throughout the duration of the series. Fun fact, a lot of people think that the series' success is attributed to Steve Urkel, and that is very much so true. Steve Urkel was a pinnacle point of this series, absolutely. He was one of the most popular, if not the most popular character on the show. But the series originally wasn't supposed to be about him. That's why you see in these older intros, they don't even feature him. He was a guest character, and audiences loved him. So they brought him back in later seasons as these titles, and these will loop around, but as the titles go around, you won't even see him. Like, he's not even in this. It's all about the family. And it stayed being all about the family. He just became an extended part of the family. And he added to a dynamic that was already there. You know? It was good. And as I've said with many other sitcoms, it was believable. You believed that Carl Winslow was a good, hardworking, honest dad. You believed that Harriet was a good, honest, hardworking mother. You believed that those kids were those kids. You believed that the aunt character and the nephew, you believed everybody. You believed the grandma character. It was all realistic. Now, I'm going to point out the elephant in the room, and I'm going to try not to dwell on it too much because it does come up in a lot of modern conversation. The race of the characters. I hate talking about this. And I shouldn't, but I do, because in the modern day, talking about it is like pulling teeth. They are a black family, quite clearly, unless you are completely blind. They are a black family. What does this mean? Not a whole lot. Skin color doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But because it features a black family, in the modern day, its success is often attributed to that fact, and it's praised for that fact. I praise the show for the fact that it was an honest portrayal of a largely blue-collar American family, with Carl being a cop. But other people will praise it because, oh, it broke ground as a black family sitcom. You know, it's a staple of black culture, and I just look at that and I go, what? Why? First of all, a lot of people, hey, there's Urkel. A lot of people look at the portrayal of a family here, let alone a black family, and a lot of people, the saying goes around, oh wow, the Winslows were often whiter than the Tanners from Full House. Because the portrayal of culture is more traditional than what you see in a lot of black families today. And sadly, there aren't a lot of whole black families today. There's a lot of single-parent black households. But this showed an ideal to live up to, where both mom and dad were home, and all of the kids were under the influence of mom and dad. They weren't off doing wild and crazy crap. They were all living together in a beautiful home that Carl worked his butt off to get, and it was great. It was beautiful. But race has so little to do with it. It's just the fact that they all happen to be black that people zone in on in 2023. Ugh, I just hate talking about it because it's such a non-issue. They could have been any race, and I would say the same exact things. It's a beautiful show. If you want to say it broke ground, great. But people are using this as an example of, oh well, it broke ground, and we should be championing more of this, and subsequently less white sitcoms or less white TV. And I'm just like, stop it, just stop it. This show was so good because it didn't prescribe to a lot of the race realism that you see. It was proof that it doesn't matter and that you can still have a good family regardless of what race. This is about family. Every creed, ethnicity should have a nuclear family. And that's what this show is about. No matter what they go through, they are a family. They don't stay mad at each other forever. Whenever inevitably stuff gets broken, things get misunderstood, opportunities get lost, people make the wrong choices. It doesn't matter. What matters is family. What matters is family. Family matters. That's why it works, is family matters. The dynamics aren't, the dynamics are all over the place as the seasons go on. But you see, as the seasons evolve, you see more of the people that you love to see on screen. They're all good characters. Even the kids are very well. They're very good actors. I don't know what many of them have gone on to do since then. They never tried to do any spin-offs of this show, thank goodness, because this was already a spin-off of Perfect Strangers, a show I haven't really seen much of, but I definitely saw a lot of Family Matters, ABC Family. What else was Family Matters on back in the day? It was on ABC Family. It may have even been on Turner. It may have been on TNT. The heck was this on? But you'll have to let me know in the comments what other networks this show was on. Um, it just, it was such a good show. It was such a good show. And the cast grew, but it didn't grow to being absurd. Um, Urkel, we can talk about Urkel a little bit because I think for a lot of people this is the Urkel show, although I would disagree. Um, just a fantastic character. I mean, what can be said about Steve Urkel? He's in the modern day, Steve Urkel is a horrible stereotype, right? He's nerdy. He's got big glasses, suspenders. He doesn't know how to walk correctly. He barely knows how to breathe, how to talk right. He's meek. He's feeble. He gets bullied. He gets shoved into lockers. This show made it cool to be a nerd. He was one of the coolest characters because he was able to invent. He was able to help his friends solve problems, even though it was just to get with Laura in a lot of situations. But even then, he put that aside for the sake of the family. He genuinely loved Carl like a father, and Eddie like a brother. Laura was just sort of a B plot that was constantly popping up in the story. But ultimately, Urkel himself was an in-depth character. We learned more about him as the show went on. He wasn't just the nerdy kid next door. He had a lot of heart. He did a lot for the Winslow family. He had a lot of his own episodes, episodes focused around things that he had to deal with. Um, you know, and the parents had episodes they had to deal with, both Carl and Harriet. Now, eventually, I believe they ended up changing the actress for Harriet. I don't really remember that, but I'm sure we'll see it towards the end in some of these opening credits. But and then they had this is the lady that died, Michelle Thomas, may she rest in peace. She was a phenomenal actress. You really bought her as being a perfect match for Urkel, but she played it up really good. She was a phenomenal actress. Such a real loss. Um, but there were so many things that worked, and there's so many reasons why this is among the echelon. People usually put this with Home Improvement, with Full House, with Boy Meets World, with its original, the thing it was spun off of, Perfect Strangers, Alf, Different Strokes, all of these family sitcoms. It's one of the best of the best. It's right up there with stuff like I Love Lucy. It's good. It's very good. And it's a long running series. Its run, I believe, was 80s into the 90s. Let me just check the date here. Family Matters. It ran from 89 to 97. That's a pretty decent run. Didn't quite make it to 2000, but it was a good show. And it had a good definitive ending. It didn't end on any sort of weird cliffhangers. You could come to whatever conclusions about what ended up happening afterwards. It wasn't like Full House, which apparently did end up on a cliffhanger. It it just went, and it had a definitive beginning and end. It worked in that sense. So it was a good show. It was a really, really good show. And what were some of its flaws? Well, the same as any show, is there were bad episodes. I mean, every show has bad episodes. They have episodes where characters aren't themselves, or where you don't quite like characters. Their development gets screwed with because some writer had an idea that didn't really pan out the way that people wanted it to. I think there was plenty of that. But it was very grounded. There was a lot of I don't want to call it slapstick, but there was a lot of stuff that got broken, and people who got like knocked out, um, stuff like that. There was a lot of stuff like that that happened in the show, but it wasn't really built around sort of the comedic, like it wasn't built around physical humor as much. It was there, which is what helped make it great, but it wasn't really based around the physical humor. It was based around the situational humor and the dialogue, and intertwining that with a lot of drama and conflict resolution. There's a lot of conflict resolution that happened in this show. And there wasn't really a sage wisdom, voice of wisdom character. All of the older characters were looked at as a voice of reason. Carl, Harriet, and I forget what the grandmother's name was, but they were all considered voices of reasons that all of the kids went to at various different points in time. Even Urkel, I remember at times, would go to Carl, and Carl would reluctantly give him advice, but it was still good advice. I remember when Eddie was training to be a cop. I saw that episode recently. It was on. Where does it rerun now? It's been rerunning on some networks because my parents watch it from time to time again, and I always hear my dad laughing with it. Shoot. I don't know the name of the network. I can't think of it. But at the end of the day, it's just good. It's so, 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 so good. But that episode that I'm thinking about, where Eddie's becoming a cop, and his dad is teaching him about firearm safety. First of all, you couldn't do that episode today, but second of all, I thought it was one of the most heartfelt moments in the show between a father and son. I am a sucker for father and son stuff because I absolutely love my dad. I really, my dad is my hero, my mentor. I adore my dad. And so father son stuff always hits me right here. It really does. And I really like that episode because you saw the son taking on the responsibilities of father and realizing that his father's job is not easy. Being a police officer in Chicago. This is Chicago in the 80s. I can't imagine being a police officer in Chicago now. Just completely just insanity. But even back then, it was still very heavily crime ridden, and there was a good chance that Carl Winslow wasn't coming home. There was a very good chance that Carl Winslow wasn't coming home. I think that's where the show aired on a little bit of an unrealistic side. But seeing Eddie take on that responsibility and learn that and become like his father in a sense. I don't remember, did he ever stay a police officer, or did he end up doing something else? He may have ended up doing something else. But seeing him learn that position and realize, wow, dad's got a very difficult decision, and if dad's not careful, because what happened was they were at a shooting range, and he had a Beretta. I think he had a Beretta, and he was going down the targets, and different ones popped up, and his sister popped up as a target, and he got shocked. He's like, "Oh my goodness!" And his dad was basically telling him, he's like, "You just shot your sister," and he was all beside himself, and he was like, "I didn't know." He's like, "That's the point." He said, when you're out in the field and you're dealing with a threat, you do not know who's going to be around the next corner. So whenever you draw your gun, you have to be sure that you're aiming for the bad guy, and you have to be aware of your surroundings and collateral damage. This is a heavy having a gun is a heavy responsibility, because he pulled it out and thought he was just going to start plinking, like it was just a fun day at the range. But the reality was, and he was super confident that he had gotten the course down. So when a variable came in that he wasn't prepared to deal with, then all of a sudden he got just completely whiplash. And his father was trying to tell him, because he probably knew that from his earlier days at the academy. His father was trying to tell him, when you're out on the field, you cannot get cocky and overconfident that you can deal with every situation. You need to be prepared for absolutely any variable as a police officer, and it's absolutely true, 100%. So very meaningful lessons like that are why this show really hit home, and why I believe it won a couple of awards here. I don't. Let's see. I don't see. Accolades. It won. Okay, wow. It won one, two, three, four, five, six. It won 6 awards. It won the broadcast. It won 2 NAACP Image Awards. It won 2 Broadcast Music Inc. BMI and Film TV Awards, or basically just BMI TV Awards, and then it won 1 Young Artist Award, and that was Best Young Actor in Recurring Television Series, Bumper Robinson. So the show won 6 awards. No, 7. My goodness, it won 7. J.L. White won a Young Artist Award, which makes sense. Urkel was tremendous. But yeah, it deserves every award it won. The acting performances are just out of this world. They are tremendous. It's hard to find a better acted sitcom in the modern day than Family Matters. It absolutely it earned all of its accolades, 100%. So those are my thoughts on why Family Matters works. Let me know, what are your thoughts? What are your memories of the show? Did you like it? Did you not like it? I'm sure there were plenty of people who didn't like the show for one reason or another. But as a show that I grew up with while it was in syndication, it did everything right for me. I liked most of the episodes that I saw. I grew up with it. I remember as an early child really being able to, I was able to do Urkel's, did I do that? You know? It's iconic to me. But why did it work for you, or why didn't it work for you? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time. This has been Super Koopa with another Why It Worked Koopa Talks, and I will see you guys next time. God bless. Have a good one. Peace.